Hello, people of the internet. My name is JD Shadow, and before I go any further, I'm not going to really worry about the air conditioner anymore if you hear it in the background, because I just cannot work under humid conditions. I'm sorry, I just cannot. So please be advised that I'll try to get that taken care of as much as I can, but as far as I'm aware, it's going to have to stay on. So especially during the spring and summer months, because I don't work well in heat. I rather have it cool, and I like winter a lot better than summer because of that, although I don't like it ice cold. So there you go. So anyway, let's talk about the WWE. Let's talk about the women's division, and let's talk about fantasy booking. I don't do these a whole hell of a lot. Actually, I don't do them at all because I'm not really that good at it. Let's be quite honest. Some of my ideas turn out to be utter disasters. Not to say they would be in execution, but when I go and think of stuff in my head, like, how would this work? How would that work? How would this and that work? However, I've had a lot of interesting thoughts about booking decisions and stuff like that. I used to do a fanfic a lot where I had anime characters go into the WWE world, and they did this whole wrestling promotion where faces and heels, they turn on each other all the time, and they go with their character, but at the same time they have like a heel version of their character or a face version of their character or something like that. It was awesome, and I did use the WWE talent as well, like maybe Goku would go against The Rock or Stone Cold or The Undertaker or something like that. It was very interesting to say the very least, and that was a long time ago. It was like in the 2000s during the Attitude Era. But one of the things that I thought I got good at was to predict what the WWE would do, because anytime I seemed to do stuff in that little fanfic, WWE seemed to do like a couple years later. I don't know how many times I've been able to predict that in some form or fashion, but maybe I'm just tooting my own horn at that point. I don't know. Maybe it's just a weird coincidence. And I would have to go back through that whole thing in order to pinpoint the exact things that they seem to do as soon as I thought to do them. But anyway, let's get to why I want to talk about the Raw Women's Division and how I would book it. It's because this is a thought that I haven't seen get out of my head. There's a few things I really want to change that I would change, and the Raw Women's Division has a lot of things good going for it, but they need to clean up some things with it. Now, the SmackDown Women's Division, I think, is going good right now. Asuka and Charlotte, you have Absolution, you got all those different dynamics that can really go well with them. They need to use Becky Lynch a little bit more than they do right now, but it is a Raw Women's Division that I am more familiar with right at the moment. And it is because of one person, Ronda Rousey. Well, a couple people. We'll get there in a moment. But there's a few key things that need to change. There's a couple of them that need to go heel. There's one particular one that needs to go face just like immediately. And anybody who knows me will know where I'm going with it, who it is. And let's go with it, because I think you might enjoy what I want to bring to the table. Now, this is the first time in a while that I've actually got to do something that's positive, something that I really love for people to hear. If you can get over the sound of my voice, which sounds like a chipmunk on acid. So yeah, let's have fun here. Let's have some great fun here. So, right now, Ronda Rousey is in this whole program with Mickie James and Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax, and I don't know why. What is she doing there? Was she in a program with Natalya? I don't know what was happening there, but let's imagine for a moment that she's still in this whole thing with Natalya, that she would turn on Natalya at some point. That's the rumor going. Now, there's another rumor saying that she would be in a program with Nia Jax for a women's title at some point. However, I would not do that just yet. Here's what I would do. At Backlash, and Backlash is a couple of days away, and no, I haven't seen the go home show of Raw yet. I haven't recorded, so don't worry about it. So if anything happened that I missed there that might affect how this would go, please forgive me. However, what would happen in my mind is that Natalya would have a match, I don't know who with, and during the match, Ronda Rousey is in her corner. Natalya has a bit of a shoulder meltdown, something like that. They attack her shoulder or something like that, but she still wins or whatever, and she's celebrating with Ronda. But when she thinks everything's fine, Ronda suddenly attacks Natalya and does the armbar on the injured shoulder, turning her mega heel. Now, the reason why I would turn Ronda Rousey heel, imagine for a second, well, you don't have to imagine because it's already happened. That smile that she does every single time. And then she does this mood swing where she pouts like a little sad girl, and then all of a sudden, yay, I'm happy. Wait, what? How are you? This doesn't even make any sense. It is the smile that is telling the WWE bookers either make me heel or give me a knife to kill myself right now. That is the smile she's given to us. And I'm catching it. They really need to make Ronda Rousey heel. And the rumor was that Natalya would go heel. Why? She just went face to come over to Raw. And Ronda Rousey being heel would set up a huge firestorm over that dynamic. Because here's this huge MMA fighter who came to the WWE on the back of huge media scrutiny, and she turns heel. And guess who else in the WWE who came from MMA? Brock Lesnar. And guess who he has as his manager? We will get there. Assuming they don't leave anytime soon, which I don't think they will, we have a big dynamic, and I think I know that you know where we're going with it. However, there's still another aspect to this, because that's not the only person that would turn, because I have a huge idea about who would go face. Now, Ruby Riott just came over from SmackDown and the Riott Squad with them. They don't have anything to do. Why? They're getting wasted on both shows. And Ruby Riott has talent. She showed it at Fastlane against Charlotte Flair. She has talent. She knows what she's doing in the ring. Let her have a program. But here's what I would think could happen. The night after, on Raw, you would have a match with Nia Jax versus Ruby Riott. They have the match. During the match, Alexa Bliss and Mickie James come out. Maybe the taunt, Nia Jax some more. They would lose that match at Backlash. She would lose the rematch. And then Nia Jax goes and focuses on them, and then suddenly the Riott Squad, all three members of the Riott Squad come in and thinking that, oh, Nia Jax going to beat us, we need to get in there and save Ruby Riott. So they all beat up on Nia Jax, right? So Mickie James like, let's get out of here. So her and Alexa Bliss start to leave, and they get right up to the ramp. Mickie James heads out, but here's what happens. I go to a little bit of what happens in 1995 with Diesel and Shawn Michaels. They couldn't forget about their friendship. That was the storyline at WrestleMania 11. And the next night, you had Psycho Sid beat up on Shawn Michaels, and Diesel, Kevin Nash comes in and saves him, and then Shawn Michaels turns face. Just as she's about to get up to the ramp and head to the exit, Alexa Bliss would stop, looks up at the Titantron, sees her former friend being beat up, manhandled, or woman-handled like she is. She tries to fight to not go back. And just as Mickie James like, what are you doing? We need to get out of here. She says, I can't take it. She runs back and she does face and attacks Ruby Riott. She attacks the entire Riott Squad. She levels them out. She throws them out of the ring. And then right after that, Nia's like, what is going on? What is your game plan here? And later on, she would say, hey, I just said mean things to her, but I didn't brutally attack her like that. I didn't do what they did. And she might share her story about she was bullied, because the story is she was as well back when she was younger. And that would create a very big dynamic, because here's what I have thought through the past couple of years. Alexa Bliss would be a terrific face wrestler. She has the personality for it. She has the gimmick for it, that she can go face and then have that bitch aspect against the heel talent. And I think right now, what more could she do as a heel besides go after Ronda Rousey, who should turn heel? And that is something I think could be happening here. I think Ronda Rousey would be a heel in the Nia Jax Ronda Rousey program if they choose to go that way, because Nia Jax just turned face. They would not turn her heel again just to go after Ronda Rousey if they want to keep her face. Why keep Ronda Rousey face? I don't think she likes it at all. But the other thing saying here is, I think it's time for Alexa Bliss to go face. I think it's really time for her to go face, because listen to the ovation she gets whenever she does her spiel before she turns bitchy. She absolutely gets massive pops. She just kills on the pops. I think they want to cheer her. I think it's time for her to go face. I think it's time to strike that iron when it's hot. Turn her face, and you still have a heel because you have Ronda Rousey there, and you have whatever's going on with Sasha Banks and Bayley. One of those two is going to go heel if it hasn't already. What's the dynamic there? I have no idea what WWE is planning on doing there. However, the next night on Raw, the next week on Raw, Nia Jax confronts Alexa Bliss, says, "What were you doing? And I don't think I trust you. And if you want me to forgive you for the things you've said, how about you join me in a match against two members of the Riott Squad, which is Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan." They go and they have the match, and Nia Jax takes the brunt of the abuse from the Riott Squad, Morgan and Logan, and everybody, the dynamic would be, hey, Alexa Bliss is going to turn on Nia Jax at some point. She always turns her back on people. She's not to be trusted. However, she reaches and reaches, and then lo and behold, to the surprise and amazement of everyone, she gets the hot tag. She accepts the hot tag. She goes in and she lays waste to the Riott Squad, and she wins it for their team. Plus, of course, you have everything breaking down as it usually does in the tag match. And all of a sudden, after the match, you see Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss in the ring. They say, you know what? I can't forget the bad stuff you said. I can sure as hell forgive you, though. And that would create a terrific moment and also a terrific message that words can hurt, but we can also heal. And that's a message that we need to have right now. We really need that kind of message that you say, you know what, there is room for forgiveness. There is room to say, hey, we can forgive you. We can forgive you for your words if you're willing to accept and you're willing to say, hey, that was wrong. I screwed up. And also, because of real life friends, that creates a better dynamic. But I think also Alexa Bliss could say, hey, it's just part of the industry. I know mind games can be played, and yes, I do play mind games a lot, but I didn't just go and attack somebody. And they could put the differences aside, and once again, they're friends. But right when they're about to exit, Ruby Riott challenges one of the two for a match at Money in the Bank. So Nia Jax is about to accept when Alexa Bliss interrupts her and says, you know what? I want her. So a match gets set up between Alexa Bliss and Ruby Riott at Money in the Bank. Now this does two things. One, it sets up a program in which now Alexa Bliss is going after pops. She's no longer a heel. She's now a full-fledged babyface, which she needs to be, and it sets up a feud with a member of the Riott Squad, Ruby Riott, of course, who is in desperate need of something to do. And Ruby Riott, I do believe, would be a terrific heel persona in order to start out this new babyface role that Alexa Bliss would have. And of course, the two could work off each other's strengths. Both of them are more high flyers. Well, I think Ruby Riott may be more of a striker than Alexa Bliss is, but they're both fast, they're both quick, they can play off each other's skill set. And I think it would be a very good match. I think it would be a pretty good dynamic to have because, of course, the personalities that the gimmicks have had. And now Alexa Bliss could be nice to the fans, but when she goes and talks about her opponent, she can turn on the bitch face. She can turn on that heat. And she can give any bit of feuds, any bit of heat she needs, which would be exceptional coming up because she would have a very intense feud coming up. Meanwhile, Nia Jax has a title match versus another member of the Riott Squad, maybe Liv Morgan or Sarah Logan, to see what they can do. Now, I'm not sure what they could do. I don't see that much out of the way of Liv Morgan or Sarah Logan, not to say that they're not talented enough, but I don't think I've seen that many matches from them. I haven't seen that many matches in order to judge how good they are in the ring. So I couldn't say one way or the other how well they would do. I don't know how limited Nia Jax is right now as a face, because as a face talent, bigger wrestlers tend to be kind of limited to what they can do. You've seen The Big Show, Andre the Giant was one of the exceptions, of course. But I'm not saying this to body shame or anything like that. However, I don't think she has the moves that she needs in order to carry the face role that well. So at some point, I would have her go back to being the heel. But that's down the road. She would win against one of those two, of course. But the big match would, of course, be Ruby Riott against Alexa Bliss. Those two would, of course, tear the house down. I think they could do that, and of course you would have Alexa Bliss now as a babyface. She needs a big win in order to further her role right now that she would be a babyface. But there's another big aspect to this, because maybe Ruby Riott doesn't win clean, or Alexa Bliss has a controversial finish, she has a controversial win, Ruby Riott says you cheated or something like that, so they would have another match at Extreme Rules. Or now, I had thought that perhaps Sasha Banks against Alexa Bliss at Extreme Rules. I thought about that aspect too, where, okay, between Extreme Rules and SummerSlam, she would not have much to do. At that point, there would be a little bit of a lull part of this whole thing. However, I do believe that you would continue that feud to have them have an Extreme Rules match and just let them waste each other. Just let them go. And for some reason, I am really giddy about having this feud. I'm really giddy about seeing this feud take place. For some reason, Ruby Riott and Alexa Bliss having a feud, it's just exciting to me. I don't know why. Maybe because they have similar styles, maybe have similar body types, maybe it's because of that where they have similar gimmicks. Boom, you got yourself a feud made in heaven. A program made in heaven there, or maybe a feud made in hell. One of the two. Now, before I forget, I want to add this in. One thing you could also do at Extreme Rules, instead of having Ruby Riott against Alexa Bliss in a rematch of sorts, if you want to have the feud versus Ruby Riott and Alexa Bliss end at Money in the Bank, to have instead Mickie James. Mickie remains heel. She comes out and she's wondering why Alexa Bliss went soft suddenly, and she's still calling Nia Jax all these names and stuff like that. Alexa Bliss comes out and she's like, wait a minute, I'm going to address the Mickie James thing. Like, why are you now making fun of people when it was you who did this so long ago, and you gave me the idea, giving the notion that it was Mickie James who influenced her to say these things in the first place, to go into this mindset in the first place. And then Mickie James can claim that she's the reason that Trish Stratus is now in the Hall of Fame. She's the reason why Trish Stratus became so popular, and now she's the reason that Alexa Bliss is even in the WWE. And then they can have a match at Extreme Rules in order to put an end maybe to that friendship, but I'm not quite sure if I wanted to do that or continue the Ruby Riott feud. Maybe because I want Ruby Riott to have something else to do, but at the same time, that would just put Mickie James into vaporware in a way, and I don't know if I wanted to do that. So I'm kind of torn as to what I would want Mickie James to do, or what I want Alexa Bliss to go against at Extreme Rules. So either one of those would work fine with me, but both of those have their pros and cons there. However, while Alexa Bliss goes over clean in that match, if she didn't go over clean in the first match at Money in the Bank, you have Nia Jax in a title match, and I don't know right now who that would be against, and I do believe in the action of defending the title at every pay-per-view, so that's why I'm thinking in the way of, okay, she would have a title match at that point. However, one of the things that ends up happening is because Ronda Rousey became heel, she would want to get the Money in the Bank, because remember her contract that she said that she could get a match at WrestleMania as long as it wasn't a title match. Well, guess what? She is now interested in getting the title. Guess what she ends up getting? Money in the Bank. Ronda Rousey qualifies in the Money in the Bank ladder match. I assume there will be a female version of that this year. Ronda Rousey eventually gets that Money in the Bank briefcase, but there is one particular person that she ends up calling, but she doesn't get him to help out. However, she gets him to be in her corner. Guess who it would be? It would not be somebody who you would be mad to say, oh, a female needs a male help or whatever. Don't be mad, because the person that we're talking about is Paul Heyman, the mastermind, person who has the mic skills of a god. Trust me, that would be a dynamic. Ronda Rousey, with how much heat she would get as a heel, and believe me, she would get it. She would know how to play the heel role. She would know how to play the bitchy role. And then Paul Heyman and his mic skills and the legendary status he has as both a manager and the owner of ECW and the advocate for Brock Lesnar. Are you kidding? Tell me where this wouldn't work. Ronda Rousey and Paul Heyman. What would happen in which that would not work? So Ronda Rousey and Paul Heyman become a unit. They become a team. And Paul Heyman is now the advocate for Ronda Rousey because he is the advocate for anybody who is coming from UFC, because of course he knows all about the UFC because he's managing
Brock Lesnar.
So yeah, that's another reason why it would work. And she wins Money in the Bank. She now has the services of Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman is telling her cash in Money in the Bank now, which would be at Extreme Rules. She goes in, she cashes in against Nia Jax. She has an Extreme Rules match. I'm not sure if you can do that at Extreme Rules for the title when you're cashing in the Money in the Bank, but work with me here. It's WWE booking. They'll always find a way to make it work. She cashes it in. Not only did she win the title, but she ends up kayfabe breaking Nia Jax's arm in half. She would absolutely destroy Nia Jax. She would just decimate her in that match. This would not only solidify her as a top heel, but also a true badass. Like, you cannot touch Ronda Rousey. She is a dominant heel. She cannot be stopped. You want to make her into a monster heel. However, the next night on Raw, I would pray would be from Columbus, Ohio. Here's the reason why. The main event on the women's side of the Raw part of SummerSlam. The way you would make this work, I would have Paul Heyman and Ronda Rousey go in and say, hey, we decimated Nia Jax, and she's kayfabe off of television for a little bit in order to sell her injury. Now Ronda Rousey has faced everybody. She doesn't need to fight anybody anymore. She has proven herself that she is the dominant alpha female. There is such a thing in the company. I don't know how Paul Heyman would do it, but it's Paul Heyman, so go with it. However, just as Ronda Rousey is about to start talking, somebody catches her attention and she goes outside in order to confront her. This would be Alexa Bliss's mother. Keep in mind the two are extremely close in real life. She starts harassing her mother. She starts bad-mouthing her, about heckling her, but then she invites her into the ring. Interesting to maybe confront her and to say what she really thinks of Ronda Rousey, which she does, calls her some sort of like stupid cow or something like that. But Ronda Rousey starts to physically attack her, just like pushes her into a turnbuckle and starts choking her out or something like that. That sparks Alexa Bliss to come out and just start to assault Ronda Rousey. They have a knockdown, drag out brawl in the center of the ring. And I would go all out with this. I would have it to where you would have the referees come out, and then you would have other officials. You would have the entire locker room trying to separate the two. Kind of like what John Cena and Brock Lesnar did the night after he re-debuted in 2012 after WrestleMania. If you remember that, it took a lot of people in order to break those two up, and you saw John Cena with a broken lip, I think it was, or broken jaw. He was bleeding at the mouth or something like that. You would have the same dynamic here. You would need to have the entire locker room, male and female, to break these two apart because they now hate each other. Ronda Rousey did the one thing that you don't do to Alexa Bliss. You don't attack her family. That is ground zero for her. And she lays waste. It takes her mother to calm Alexa Bliss down finally, and Paul Heyman to get Ronda Rousey the hell out of there. And to be quite honest with you, this is going to sound a little bit sadistic of me, but I don't care. I would want for blood to be spilled there. I would want for somebody to bleed hard way in this whole thing. Maybe Ronda gets a good elbow on her or something like that, to where you see cut coming from Alexa Bliss's forehead or something like that, to where they have to check and make sure she's okay. I would really go all out on this. I would just have the ring fill up with like talent and officials just trying to keep the two apart, and they can't do it. Alexa Bliss still is able to get to Ronda Rousey and vice versa, and it's only when Paul Heyman pulls Ronda Rousey out of there, and when her mother, Alexa Bliss's mother, just says, enough, please, you're okay. And then Ronda Rousey hears from Paul Heyman, hey, we got her in the match. And then the match is made. The very next segment on that Raw, Ronda Rousey versus Alexa Bliss for the championship at SummerSlam. And they would need to sell this as these two women hate each other. They are out for blood. They want to see each other bleed. They really want to kill one another. And if they are not separated, they are going to. They are going to kill one another. And they're very concerned that somebody's really going to get seriously hurt in this match. So they're worried as if they're going to not be safe in sanctioning the match. And they go back and forth. And here's the big thing about this whole match too. Because Paul Heyman's out there and you can break the fourth wall, you can do some pipe bombs with this. You can also have Paul Heyman call Alexa Bliss out. You say, hey, you can't wrestle. You can't hang with Ronda Rousey. You are no-name talent. We don't know how you got so popular. Any criticism that Alexa Bliss actually got in the eyes of some internet wrestling fans, you can have Paul Heyman be the mouthpiece there. You can actually go full throttle and just see if you can do a work shoot there. But then you have Alexa Bliss coming out and addressing it to the point where, hey, you know what? I'm not a perfect person. I've made mistakes, but I never quit. And I know that sounds too John Cena-ish in a way. And at this point, you kind of run the risk of perhaps her becoming too much of a babyface to where people start hating her in a more John Cena or Roman Reigns type of way. But I don't think it could happen here, because if you hear the pop she has gotten when she actually has done face-like speeches before she goes and does her bitch switch on. So now when she thanks her fans for sticking with her all these years, or sticking with her through all of this, she thanks her, but then she turns to Ronda Rousey, and then that's when the bitch switch goes on. Says, you know what? I'm going to destroy you at SummerSlam. I'm really going to destroy you now. Now, of course, Nia Jax is not in this because, of course, she's selling the injury, so she doesn't have a match on the SummerSlam card. She doesn't really have her rematch to really look forward to because right now she's unable to compete, of course. So at SummerSlam, Alexa Bliss versus Ronda Rousey. You have Ronda Rousey just destroy Bliss. You just have her knock her the hell out. Similar to what Brock Lesnar did to John Cena. Sort of like a combination between John Cena and Randy Orton. But I don't know if you would actually do the Brock Lesnar doing the elbows and opening up Randy Orton just yet. I would save that because you just lay waste to Alexa Bliss. Ronda Rousey just decimates her. But then she does that armbar. She does the armbar, but Alexa Bliss never taps out. She passes out from the pain. Ronda Rousey could swear that she has broken Alexa's arm, and the referee calls for the bell. Of course, Ronda Rousey is the winner. She retains her title, but Alexa Bliss gets carried out on a stretcher. They determine that she has her arm severely broken, like she is crying. She sells this injury, and I believe she can. She sells this injury like you would not believe. But at SummerSlam, after the match, they would push her off to a stretcher, and they were about to carry her out back into the backstage when Ronda Rousey comes back, grabs the stretcher with her on it, and throws the stretcher with her still on it off the stage so hard that she crashes her shoulder onto the concrete. And I'm not sure if that's the kind of bump that you would want your wrestlers to take. But if you really want this to really sell, if you really want to show that Ronda Rousey is a despicable heel that's going to do absolutely anything to destroy another human being, you really need to sell that you are willing to go to that next level. That would break the third gear. That would really hit the third gear to her heel turn. That would really solidify that she's willing to take a cheap shot in order to end someone's career. And that would be what people would fear she just did to Alexa Bliss. End her career. Her shoulder is out of whack. She needs several months to heal. During this time, Nia Jax comes back from her injury. She has another match against Ronda Rousey for the title, and of course again she gets absolutely destroyed, and of course she starts laying waste to everybody who would challenge her for the title. Between then and then Royal Rumble, I'm not quite sure what you would be able to do at that point, because what you are eventually wanting to do is to have Ronda Rousey keep this title up to at least the Royal Rumble, because what would happen at the Royal Rumble is you have the women's division Royal Rumble, and the winner goes to WrestleMania to fight whoever they want to for the title, on their title. So you have all the females come out. Of course, you have the NXT and the Legends, stuff like that. And then you get to about the 25 to 30. You have the counter going down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And lo and behold, Alexa Bliss's music comes on. Ronda Rousey looks like she's seen a ghost. Everybody starts cheering. She runs in and just starts throwing people out. She goes Kane on people. And it goes down to maybe Nia Jax versus Alexa Bliss in the ring. Or maybe you could have maybe Asuka's maybe a heel. Because there was that rumor is going around right now that Charlotte versus Asuka at SummerSlam, one of those two would go heel. And I could see Asuka as being a good heel. So let's say for a second that Asuka was the heel at this point, and Bliss is a super face. She's getting mad pops at this point because she's been out for a long time. Everybody thought her career was over. She's coming back looking stronger than ever. She hangs onto the top rope after Asuka thinks she's eliminated her, and then all of a sudden she gets pulled out. Alexa Bliss wins the Royal Rumble, points to the sign, and then points straight to Ronda Rousey, saying, I don't even need anybody to tell me to pick one. I've already made my decision. Ronda Rousey is my pick. I want her at WrestleMania at MetLife Stadium. That would set up the rematch. And then right when we're about sure that it's going to be that match that gets made, Nia Jax comes out. She turns on Alexa Bliss, becoming heel again. And she destroys Bliss, saying, hey, you people still cheer for her. Remember what she said to me back in the day. Now you guys are going to cheer somebody who used to harass me, who used to bully me and make fun of me. You're going to forgive that. And Alexa Bliss is devastated because now we can get to, okay, she and her were very good friends who looked after each other. And you can go into their life story at that point. You can start to show, okay, there's a real person underneath of the gimmicks and stuff like that. To where you can show how good of friends they used to be. You can show like child pictures or whatever there was at that point in time. They are good friends in real life. I would love to know how long they've been friends and to show that this is a very close relationship, and Nia Jax is selling her out because of a dynamic that usually occurs in pro wrestling, the mind games. And Alexa Bliss is like, I don't want to fight you. I don't want to fight you. Now, there's a few ways that I thought this could go. One would be maybe Stephanie McMahon is revealed as the one who's pulling all these strings, that she made Nia Jax sell herself out to Alexa Bliss, and that's why she turned on her. And then Stephanie McMahon forces Alexa Bliss to put her WrestleMania spot on the line against Nia Jax at either Fastlane or Elimination Chamber. I'm not sure what they're going to call it because, of course, co-brand pay-per-views now. Or you can have Nia Jax say, you know what, you're too much of a coward to put your shot on the line. So either way, Alexa Bliss either has to or decides, hey, I'm not scared of you. I'm going to put some sense into you. I'm going to knock some sense into you. I don't want to have to do it, but friends usually deliver some tough love from time to time. I'm going to deliver some tough love to you. And if it takes me putting my shot on the line in order to get you in the ring and to teach you that this is not the way to go, then that's what I'm going to have to do. Now, the reason why I'm a little skittish about that particular mindset is because Stephanie McMahon, of course, it's a McMahon storyline. We all know how we feel about those things, and we all know how Stephanie McMahon is about getting her comeuppance. She usually never gets it. But in that match, I would have Nia Jax rebrand herself from the Irresistible Force to the Beastress. And I don't mean any disrespect by this. I'm like, okay, she would be a monster. She would be another monster heel. There's not too many of those in the female division where you just have somebody who can just beat you up and is hard to take down. And they would have a match that's not much like what we saw at WrestleMania last month, because as a heel, I think that would open up a lot that Nia Jax could do. Because as a face, I don't think she has that much that she can do as a face. I think as a heel, she has a lot more that she could do. But anyway, she barely loses. Alexa Bliss does her Twisted Bliss at the last moment, and she luckily gets the win, and she's going to WrestleMania to face Ronda Rousey again, the rematch. And here's the other thing. She lost her title at WrestleMania. Here we go. She's going to try to get her title back at WrestleMania. And again, we go back to the whole thing with Ronda Rousey versus Alexa Bliss. But this time, they would show that Alexa Bliss has been preparing for this. She says she got owned at SummerSlam. Now at WrestleMania, she's been training to be more of a fighter. She's been training with some of the greats in MMA. Maybe Miesha Tate even. Remember that feud that Ronda Rousey and Miesha Tate had? Or maybe Amanda Nunes. You could have a whole slew of different MMA fighters who you could say have been training her to get prepared for this, because we know that Ronda Rousey can fight. She is a fighter, and now guess what? She can be a fighter as well. Alexa Bliss can fight. She can punch with the best of them. She thinks she can hang with Ronda Rousey on that front. The one place that Ronda Rousey has the advantage at, she doesn't have the advantage anymore. And you get also a contract signing. Do a contract signing, because you always know how those end. To where no matter what, it's going to be Ronda Rousey versus Alexa Bliss at WrestleMania for the title. Because one thing that I remember in the WCW segment when they did contract signings is they actually said that until that particular match, that the person who held the title would not defend that title until the date that was signed. Where until Ronda Rousey versus Alexa Bliss, until they meet at WrestleMania, Ronda Rousey would not defend her title against anybody else. That Alexa Bliss would be the first person after the contract signing that would get that shot. So, of course, it all breaks down as it occurs. Now, of course, they could have their back and forth with each other, but maybe a week or two before WrestleMania, something happens to Alexa Bliss's mother. Here we go again. But this time, Ronda Rousey gets her into the armbar, her mother into the armbar. Alexa Bliss comes out, and if you remember the thing that happened with Triple H and Shawn Michaels, Brock Lesnar put Shawn Michaels in a Kimura lock for some reason. I forget what the reason was. Triple H comes out. Paul Heyman says, "No, if you go any further, Brock Lesnar is going to break his arm." Of course, Shawn Michaels gets his arm, kayfabe broken. I would do the same thing here. Ronda Rousey ends up breaking kayfabe Alexa Bliss's mother's arm. I forget her name, so forgive me. And now it is set. It is on. Remember that dynamic that ended up happening in the first place, that you don't F with her family? She just did it again. So now at WrestleMania, oh, it's on. It is definitely on. But remember what I said earlier about I would not exactly do a full-on bleed hard way yet at SummerSlam? WrestleMania, here's where you do it. Alexa Bliss and Ronda Rousey have their match at WrestleMania. This time, Alexa Bliss holds her own. She can fight with Ronda Rousey. She throws punches, she throws kicks, and she surprises Ronda Rousey. Like, wait a minute, we have our work cut out for us. We actually have to fight her. We actually have to wrestle her. We actually have to think about how we're going to combat this new mindset she has, this new strategy she has. But sometime during the match, and it'll be back and forth, it will be more competitive, because now you really want a competitive match at WrestleMania. At some point, Ronda Rousey gets a huge elbow into the forehead, and you get her opened up. I know it's sadistic. I know it's not usually done on females, but this one match, I'm telling you right now, this is a money match for me. Ronda Rousey, Alexa Bliss, with that dynamic there of these two want to kill each other, and you can't be safe at all being in the crossfire here. Now we have blood in a female wrestling match. You probably have never seen it in the WWE, but you get to see it right now. And I think females are strong enough to say, hey, we can take these bumps. We can do this kind of stuff. If you want us to really be equal, you have to show us that we can handle some of that punishment as well from other females, that we can get brutal. We can start bleeding. We can start doing that stuff. And females have done that before. Maybe in New Japan Pro Wrestling, I think there was a barbed wire match that I seen somewhere before to where two female Japanese wrestlers ended up getting cut on the barbed wire with their shoulders and their arms and the back or stuff like that, but never in the head. And of course, that is the one place where you probably don't want to see a female bleed. But this is a special match. You don't want to screw this up. You don't want to make this out to be a soft match. You want to go all in. You want Bliss and Ronda Rousey to try to murder each other. And there you go. Ronda Rousey can bleed as well. She can maybe have her nose broken or something like that, to where you see her bleed, to the point where maybe you have the referee try to stop the match, try to check on Alexa Bliss, and Alexa Bliss, you know what, if you stop this match, I'm gonna kill you. That's probably the mindset going into that. But the final part of the match would be Alexa Bliss goes for a submission hold, which we never see her do. She shows Alexa Bliss maybe before WrestleMania, sometime before WrestleMania, that she has developed a new submission hold and has gotten at least one female to tap out. And then at WrestleMania, she puts that submission hold on Ronda Rousey. And Rousey is trying, she's struggling to get out. Maybe she breaks free a few times, maybe one other time. But in the center of the ring, after maybe 20 minutes or so, you give this match a lot of time. You have her, a bloody Alexa Bliss, put that submission hold, whatever it would be, on Ronda Rousey. She cannot get out of it. And finally, you hear tap, 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 tap. Ronda Rousey taps out, which you would never see happen in a normal UFC match, in a normal UFC fight. Alexa Bliss is the winner. She becomes the new Raw Women's Champion, and everybody is cheering. Or maybe. That's the one dynamic there I don't sure about. Don't want to push her too hard because, of course, we all know what happens with John Cena and Roman Reigns. However, it feels like I'm booking Alexa Bliss more than I am with the entire female women's division. Does it seem like? But there's a bit of a reason why. Because I think at this point she becomes the face of the women's division. She becomes a mega baby face, where I think she could become like The Rock in some ways. So where she has that spark, she has those mic skills that can break any heel verbally. She verbally has that skill to make fun of the heel talent, and you would not mind because these are heels. They pick on other people. They kind of open themselves up to that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm okay with doing that on the heels because the heels actually have it coming because they're the ones who cheat. They're the ones who badmouth the fans, stuff like that. And I do believe that when she is out there and when she is speaking from the heart out of kayfabe, then yes, a lot of fans cheer her and a lot of fans want to cheer her. So I think I have to think a little bit more about where I would put the other talent. I would believe that Ruby Riott might have some good things down the road. I would believe that maybe the Bayley and Sasha Banks feud, Sasha Banks could become heel and maybe she would have a shot at the title as well. You could put a lot of people into a position to where they would benefit from a storyline such as this. Maybe you could have Bayley versus Ruby Riott and Ruby Riott wins that. Maybe a Hell in a Cell match versus Ronda Rousey, Nia Jackson, Hell in a Cell maybe. Even you could do that for a title match. Maybe have that at Hell in a Cell. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you could do. Oh, and finally, the final thing that would happen is after that, you could probably put Nia Jax onto SmackDown as well. I don't know why I would do that because maybe by that point, Nia Jax has spent her whole career so far in the main roster on Raw. So that could be a turning point where she could be heel on SmackDown and start going after that talent. And who knows, that could be something as well. I could think about a lot of different things you could do with this whole thing, but it begs for me to say that the start of this whole thing, if you've heard me rambling for this long, first of all, thank you very much for doing that. Second of all, Ronda Rousey needs to go heel. Sasha Banks or Bayley, go heel, please. But Alexa Bliss, make a face. Please give her a face turn. She needs it. She would benefit a lot from it. There's really not much else you can do with her as a heel at this point. You've done all you can do. She's about beaten every face she can beat besides maybe Nia Jax. But when Backlash is done, do something to make her face. That would really work to have her turn back and rescue Nia Jax and start a whole face turn, which would end maybe with her getting the title back at WrestleMania. Or maybe if you don't want to have her do an injury storyline, maybe have her face some more members of Riott Squad. Maybe you can have her be in a big feud with the Riott Squad. Maybe you can have a shorter injury storyline where she's injured at Survivor Series. Maybe have that. But one of the bigger shows would have that happen. Don't do it at, say, TLC or Hell in a Cell. Do that at SummerSlam or Survivor Series. Because I do believe that those two shows are the marquee shows, so something big needs to go down at that point. And so with that being said, you should maybe start an injury storyline there that would maybe end at WrestleMania. The only thing that I would have a problem with having an injury storyline in Survivor Series is because you should do a return at the Royal Rumble of that injured wrestler. And if you do it so soon, then it's not going to be as believable, or it's not going to get as much of a pop as it would if they were absent longer. So that's why I'm saying do it at SummerSlam. But maybe you don't necessarily need to have her injured at all. Maybe have a big feud with the Riott Squad and go back and forth with them, because yeah, that would be awesome to see the Riott Squad have something to do, especially Ruby Riott, because give her something to do. I don't think I know what exactly yet. Maybe have her in a feud versus Bayley or Ember Moon or something like that. People might be thinking, where's Ember Moon in all of this? And I don't know that much about her and be able to put her into a situation where she can benefit from it yet, because I know more about the Riott Squad. I know more about Nia Jax, Alexa Bliss, Sasha, Natalya, because I think Natalya, after that I don't know what else I could do with her. She has a lot that she's already done. So as much as people love her and much I would love to find something for her to do, my whole aspect was with turning Rousey heel and turning Bliss face. That was the two main things that I had for this angle, and the Riott Squad having something to do. So if using this whole year-long storyline that would have, if you have something that you think could fit into that scenario, please let me know in the comment section down below if you like this particular idea, or if you have a different way you could go about doing something like this. Also leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your suggestions. And thank you so very much for hearing me ramble about wrestling for the past hour or so. My god, I have a knack for making long videos. Holy hell. Anyway, thank you so very much for watching. If you like it, please give me a like down below. Subscribe to my channel for more geek gaming culture. And I will see you next time. Until then, my name is JD Shadow. That just happened.